How's it going, everybody? Ragroth here. So we got a third trailer for Resident Evil 4 Remake, and I think for most of us it was probably the best trailer. And the thing that if you saw in my reaction video, what made me almost jump for joy was the confirmation of Mercenaries, as this was something I was severely concerned that they would cut out after kind of Resident Evil 2 Remake and especially Resident Evil 3 Remake went down with cutting side content. However, that hype was a little deflated afterwards when there was an article from, I believe, one of the PlayStation main article websites saying that it will actually be post-launch free DLC. Now, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. I've actually said on record that I would be okay if it came after the launch of the game and it's free, which makes it even better. That's fine. I do just wish it was communicated a little bit better in the trailer. That's what I think gave a bit of false hopes that it was in the base game. And I think that could have been rectified very easily just by having a little asterisk saying, like, will be coming soon, or post-launch DLC that's free, not included base launch, something like that. I think that there was a little bit of miscommunication there. But otherwise, it's great news. Now, I guess I'll talk about, like, what are some of my hopes and expectations for it. So now, I would like to say that part of the reason it's not in the base game is that it's going to be bigger and better than the original Resident Evil 4 Mercenaries, and possibly even Resident Evil 8's Mercenaries as well. Obviously, I would like to see all 4 characters come back in Mercenaries from Resident Evil 4. We got Leon, obviously going to be playable. Ada, I'm not 100% certain. I'm pretty sure she'll still be playable, especially since she was playable in Resident Evil 2 Remake. Only reason I'm not 100% is we don't know if she's actually playable in Resident Evil 4 Remake, because that's another thing I want to get to later in this video. Krauser, 100% going to be playable. We saw him kind of in motion in action. He's even doing that same kind of kick he does as kind of his melee move in Resident Evil 4 Mercenaries. HUNK, pretty sure, yeah, he's kind of like side mode guy, and he was playable in Resident Evil 2 Remake, so we already have him the RE engine. Kind of the one with a bit of a question mark would probably be Wesker, just because we don't know 100% if he's still in the game yet. I don't see them taking him out, especially because I think, don't quote me on this, there was possibly leaked like concept art of what his design will look like in Resident Evil 4 Remake. Not only that, but this trailer spoiled a lot. So I feel like they got to kind of save something for when the game comes out. And I feel like Wesker's presence in the game would be a great thing to kind of keep hidden. Now, do I think there'll be any new playable characters? Well, I definitely am very confident there's going to be one new playable character, and you probably know who I'm talking about. Lewis, of course, because he was in the trailer a lot. He was in places that he definitely was not in the original Resident Evil 4. So they're definitely expanding his role 100% in this game, and I think they're definitely going to make him playable in Mercenaries. Especially because, as I've mentioned before, nobody uses the Red 9 in Resident Evil 4 Mercenaries, so he could easily be that character to kind of have that gun in his arsenal. What would really be awesome if they went above and beyond is if they added every character that's been playable in the RE engine. So that would be Ethan, Claire, Jill, Carlos, Chris, and if they really wanted to go crazy, Lady Dimitrescu and Heisenberg. I don't think they're going to go this crazy. I think maybe I'm honestly just expecting the original 4 and Lewis. Anything else would be amazing. I'd like to say they're going to keep all the stages. Again, the only one I'm kind of maybe concerned about is Waterworld, because it's a new place they'd have to make. But again, if this is post-launch DLC that is in the main game, I'd like to say this is one of the reasons for it, because they have to fully recreate Waterworld. Now, I think one other big question is it going to be single-player only? And I do think it is definitely possible that one of the reasons they're saving this for post-launch is that they're going to be including co-op. Now, will it be local co-op? Probably not. Unfortunately, I think this game's graphics are just a little too above having split screen. It really sucks. I really do miss split screen, but I'm just not expecting it. Having co-op in Resident Evil 4 Mercenaries would be amazing, especially because that was kind of the main thing that 5 and 6 Mercenaries had above it. My only concern is that I'm worried that they're going to make this multiplayer only, and that would suck so much, because it seems like Capcom is just obsessed with some kind of alternate mode or side thing that's purely online focused. And like, that's kind of, I mean, I don't mind that much. It just sucks when it has to take away from the single player aspects of these games. Just have it be both. Please don't just force multiplayer on this, please. I don't think they will, but it is something that has crossed my mind. Now, I guess one other last mini thing is the music. The Resident Evil 4 Mercenaries character themes are awesome, and I do kind of wonder if they're going to keep that if they're in a reimagined version of it. And especially like because I think part of the deluxe edition is you do get classic music for Resident Evil 4, and I do wonder if it would carry over to a post-launch DLC thing. I mean, I wouldn't mind remixes as long as they're good, but it would still be nice to have the originals in the game as well. And if they do add new characters like Lewis, would he get his own theme too? I could definitely imagine a very kind of a what's that? There's that kind of common genre they use in kind of Spanish music, kind of music in his for his theme. I can't really think of it as, but you probably know what I'm talking about though. They use it actually a theme in the very beginning of Resident Evil 4, the original at least. And that really kind of brings me all to that. The only thing, one of the things that's kind of a bummer is that what does this mean for Separate Ways? Separate Ways being kind of the side mode where you kind of go through Resident Evil 4 through Ada's perspective. Does this mean that Separate Ways is not in the base game either? Does this mean that it's coming later? Does it mean that it's not coming at all? What does it mean? I'm not entirely sure, and that's what the main thing that has me concerned. I would like to think that Separate Ways was prioritized over Mercenaries, because Separate Ways is part of Resident Evil 4's story. Not only that, Ada has been getting a lot more kind of love, especially in Resident Evil 2 Remake, just having her own playable section. So I'd like to say maybe Separate Ways was just more of a priority than Mercenaries, and it would probably in some ways be easier because you only have to worry about one playable character. You're reusing a lot of areas in the game, but it would require a lot of new dialogue and cutscenes. That's the only thing. So I'm not entirely sure. I could see, Resident Evil 4 Mercenaries being kind of the Resident Evil 8 Additional Orders DLC equivalent, while Separate Ways is kind of the Shadows of Rose equivalent. Which wouldn't be the end of the world. I was just kind of hoping, and I guess maybe it was an unrealistic hope, that we would get these things in the base game, or at least right after launch, and then they would kind of keep supporting the game with other new things, like maybe kind of playing through the game as Lewis, or maybe Krauser, or Operation Javier DLC, or something like that, kind of after. But it seems like the DLC could just be things that were in the original Resident Evil 4, just kind of reimagined, which, again, is much better than what they've been doing. It just, I don't know, it isn't ideal, we'll say that much. And I think Separate Ways being in the game is kind of, I think that's going to sort of make or break in terms of it being like something. It would just be awesome if this remake basically doesn't make me want to play the original anymore. And if it is missing something like Separate Ways, it would be, it would kind of lose points in that area. Now, in terms of what I would like for the Resident Evil 4 Mercenaries to be like, ideally it would just be kind of like the original, maybe with kind of some things, including the merchant, because I think when they showed the Mercenaries part, you heard some like British guy say something. I'm pretty sure it was a British accent, and the only person we know with a British accent in the game, or Australian accent, I get them mixed up, is the merchant. So they could be adding him to the Mercenaries, kind of how they had the Duke part of the Resident Evil 8 Mercenaries. And that's also another thing to kind of consider too, like, I mean, I like Resident Evil 8 Mercenaries. I'd rather it be like Resident Evil 4. And I was thinking like, well, it is kind of stupid that why did Resident Evil 8 get Mercenaries in the base game, but Resident Evil 4 can't? And I was thinking to myself, well, Resident Evil 8 Mercenaries was very bare bones. You only got one playable character, only a few playable stages, and it was also only first person. And granted, it still is first person, but Resident Evil 4 is third person the whole time, so it involves a lot more animations and combat animations and all that. That's about it for this video. Those are kind of some of my hopes and my expectations for Resident Evil 4 Mercenaries going forward. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you're excited Mercenaries back, what you think about it being not in the base game. Like me, I'm fine with it not being in the base game and free. I just kind of wish they communicated that a little better in the trailer, because I kind of got my hopes a little higher than they needed to be. But like the video if you like it. Dislike if you dislike it. Definitely consider subscribing if you like this video and some of my others. It would really help the channel a lot. Definitely check out my Patreon and my Discord as well if you'd like. That would really also help out as well. But hey, we're less than a month for Resident Evil 4 Remake. I'm really pumped. Let me know how excited you are. But thanks again for checking out the video. And as I always say, another time, another place. Keep being awesome.